The sound of ceramic shattering against tile still haunts me. One second I was holding a coffee cup, the next, it slipped right through my hands and exploded across the cafe floor. I froze because standing in the doorway was the one man I never thought I'd see again. 5 years had passed. 5 years since I walked away from him with a secret bigger than anything I could handle. And there he was, Adrian Cole, the billionaire CEO with a navy suit sharp enough to slice through air and eyes that once looked at me like I was the only person alive. My breath caught, and for a heartbeat I swore time stopped. "Mommy, why'd you drop the cup?" My little girl's voice pulled me back. Lila, 4 years old, wild curls, the brightest eyes. But she wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking at him. She stepped forward, fearless the way kids are. "You look like the picture," she said. Adrian blinked, confused. "What picture?" "The one Mommy keeps in her box." She said he was my daddy, but he lived far away, and that was it. My knees nearly buckled. The secret I had buried deep exposed by a child's honesty. Adrian's face drained of color as he crouched down to her level, his voice rough. "What's your name?" "Lila Rose Brooks. I'm 4. My birthday's December 10th. I saw him do the math right there, counting back. 9 months after the night I left without a word. His eyes snapped to mine, glassy and sharp all at once. The silent question between us was brutal. Is she mine? I gripped the counter, my knuckles white. And instead of lying again, instead of running, I gave the smallest nod. His breath hitched like I'd punched him in the gut. I wanted to disappear, but how could I teach my daughter courage if I only showed her fear? So I stood there as Adrian whispered, "I need to know everything. Why you left. Why you never told me." The cafe felt too small, too bright, too exposed. My girl looked up at me confused. "Mommy, who is he? How do you explain to a 4-year-old that the man you loved, the man you left, is her father? How do you tell the truth without breaking her heart?" Later, after I closed the cafe, we sat across from each other. He was no longer the boyish VP I'd fallen for. He was a man now, harder around the edges, but his eyes were still the same. I told him everything. About the night his mother invited me to lunch, called me not suitable, offered me money to disappear. About how I'd overheard him on the phone with her saying you'd handle it. To me, that meant handling us getting rid of me. I was 24, broke, scared, and then I found out I was pregnant. So I left. Adrian's jaw clenched, his voice breaking. I wasn't going to end us. I was going to tell her to back off. If I'd known, if you'd told me, I cut him off. If I had shown up pregnant, your family would have called me a gold digger. They would have called Lila a mistake. And I wouldn't let my child grow up like that. His voice cracked fierce. She's not a mistake. She's my daughter. I wanted to believe him, but old wounds run deep. The days after that, he showed up. Every morning. He'd sit with Lila, read her stories, bring pastries, even help serve customers. He rearranged his whole schedule, told me he'd canceled million-dollar meetings just to be here. And I watched as my daughter climbed into his lap like she'd known him her whole life, watched him braid her hair after studying YouTube tutorials, watched him tuck her in with tears in his eyes. One night, he looked at me across the counter, quiet but firm. I missed 4 years, Claire. But I'm not missing another day. I'm her father, and I'm here. I believed him more with each laugh, each bedtime story, each photo he sent me when he took her to the zoo. But the shadow of his mother still hung over us. It all came to a head one Sunday. His mother, Eleanor Cole, arrived at the cafe. Elegant, cold, sharp as a blade. She eyed my place with disdain, then turned to Lila. So this is her, she said, like my daughter was an inconvenience. Lila with the blunt honesty, only kids have looked her straight in the eye. Are you my grandma? Eleanor's lips thinned. I suppose I am. You don't look like Daddy, Lila said. But maybe you'll be nice if you try. Even Adrian had to hide a smile. And for the first time I saw something crack in his mother's armor. A tiny, reluctant smile flickered. Perhaps I will, she said. That day, Adrian stood taller than I'd ever seen him. If you can't treat them with respect, you won't be part of my life. Sophie comes first. Claire comes first. His voice shook the walls, and for once his mother had nothing to say. Weeks later, at Lila's 5th birthday, surrounded by purple balloons and a cake nearly as big as she was, Adrian dropped to one knee. You gave me a second chance I didn't deserve. Will you let me be your husband? Will you let us be a real family? Tears blurred my vision, but I managed to say yes. Lila squealed. Does this mean Daddy lives with us now? We laughed through the tears, because maybe, just maybe, after all the pain, it was finally our turn for joy. But here's the thing, not everyone believed in us. Some folks whispered that I trapped him, others said he was running from guilt, and some swore that a man like him, rich, powerful, shaped by people like Eleanor, could never truly change. What do you think? If someone walked back into your life after 5 years, someone who broke your heart but wanted to make it right, would you let them back in? Or would you close the door forever? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you'd do or share if you've ever lived through something like this. And if you believe everyone deserves a second chance, or maybe you think some things can never be forgiven, let's talk about it below. Because stories like this aren't just about love. They're about what we believe people are capable of. So what's your verdict, redemption, or too little too late? The sound of ceramic shattering against tile still haunts me. One second I was holding a coffee cup, the next, it slipped right through my hands and exploded across the cafe floor. I froze because standing in the doorway was the one man I never thought I'd see again. 5 years had passed. 5 years since I walked away from him with a secret bigger than anything I could handle. And there he was, Adrian Cole, the billionaire CEO with a navy suit sharp enough to slice through air and eyes that once looked at me like I was the only person alive. My breath caught, and for a heartbeat I swore time stopped. Mommy, why'd you drop the cup? My little girl's voice pulled me back. Lila, 4 years old, wild curls, the brightest eyes. But she wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking at him. She stepped forward, fearless the way kids are. You look like the picture, she said. Adrian blinked, confused. What picture? The one Mommy keeps in her box. She said he was my daddy, but he lived far away, and that was it. My knees nearly buckled. The secret I had buried deep exposed.